Hi, everyone. Welcome to Tuesday Notary Titans, the TNT call. Today is Tuesday, January 26th, 2021. My name is Bill Soroka. I'm the founder of NotaryCoach.com and author of the Amazon bestselling book, Sign and Thrive, How to Make Six Figures as a Mobile Notary Loan Signing Agent. It's my pleasure to be here, and I have our incredible co-host, Carol Ray, founder of Notary 2 Pro. Carol, how's it going today? You want to unmute?
Okay, I'm unmuted. I'm very careful with this muting thing. Everything's great. I'm really excited because we're about to get a brand new house.
That's a big deal.
It's a big deal. We love it here. It's beautiful here where we moved to, but we've been waiting because it's a manufactured home and they've got it on there. They got skirting and we're getting ready to move into it pretty quick. And also I'm very excited because I'm getting phenomenal results, and I'm sure you are too, results with the students. My daughter just told me that one of our new students, fairly new graduate, has been doing, how many? Between 10 and 18 a week, and that he's just started, but he got called into a title company, and she said he did 12 in one day at $120 a piece.
Gosh, wow. That's so
That
good.
excites me. That really excites me. So yeah, I'm happy about that. You look very handsome, by the way.
Well, thank you. It must be the good lighting or something in here. I finally got a good, yeah. So thank you for that. Well, I'm excited for you, and I think you nailed it on the head. This is an amazing time to be in this business. There's so much opportunity out there, and with the right attitude, the commitment to your training and commitment to excellence and commitment to customer service will serve you really well in this industry right now. And it's so important to strike when the iron's hot, optimize this opportunity right now so that your business can sustain and you get longevity in your business. That means that you're going to hang around a lot longer than this amazing boom that we're in too. So is Laura on the call with us?
She was just about ready to get home. And,
okay.
and that was about 5-10 minutes ago. So she may hop on a little late.
Yep, no problem. That's the beautiful part about this, guys, is we're still in the hustle as well. Laura still takes appointments, plus she's got some other things going on. And then I just walked in the door as well from a last minute appointment as well. It's the end of the month. This is what happens. Appointments come very last minute right now. So we're excited to be able to share this with you. We already have a couple of hands up, Carol. So as we wait for Laura to join us, why don't we jump in and get started?
Sure.
All right, Sid Marsh, thank you so much for having your hand up. If you would please unmute, tell us what state you're in and ask your question.
Okay, I'm in California.
All right.
And I'm a newbie notary. According to the Secretary of State, my commission is in the mail.
Oh.
But my question is, there's a gentleman that has asked me to notarize his last will and testament once I get up and running. And I've researched, and it looks like in California, you only need 2 witnesses. You don't need to be notarized. And I've seen that a lot of notaries won't take last will and testaments. What should I do?
Good question. So in general, and this will work for everybody who's listening as well, the document will determine whether or not witnesses are needed. So yes, a lot of times these last wills and testament will say have 2 witnesses or a notary public. So you can let the signer know that those are his options. However, if he'd like to have it notarized, or sometimes they like to have both witnesses and have it notarized, that is totally up to them. And if that's what they want, then you can deliver on those.
Well, I talked to him and I told him that I did some research, and according to California, all you need are 2 witnesses. And he had already told me he had 2 witnesses ready.
Okay.
And so I said, well, legally you don't need to have it, but I said, if you feel better with it, I will come and notarize.
Beautiful.
That's how I left it with him.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent. So he'll let you know how to handle that, but yeah, you're free to do that. So
Would I need, excuse me, would I need an acknowledgement with that? Is that, what would I be notarizing? Would I be notarizing on his last will and testament, or would I have to have a notary certificate?
good question. So typically these last wills and testaments and medical directives and things like that already have the notarial language built in. California has some specific notarial language requirements, but if he downloaded this from a California specific site or he had it drafted from an attorney in California, it might already have the notarial language if it's necessary. If it's a jurat in California, it will already be there. A lot of these documents already have the notarial certificate built into it. It's your responsibility to make sure that your state specific language is included if it's necessary. And if it's not, then yes, you would attach a loose certificate that is compliant with your state.
Would that be an acknowledgement or a jurat?
Well, you can't make that decision. So
Yeah, but I would offer him those. Is that it?
yeah, exactly. So the signer you can explain to them the difference. This is what an acknowledgement does. This is what a jurat does. Which one would you like here? Or if it's already in the document and you're just replacing it, you can tell what kind of certificate it is and you just replace it with the same kind.
Okay. Well, you've been very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for being here. Welcome to the industry. If Laura's on yet, she might even want to dive in a little deeper in that. She's kind of our specialty notary guru on there. Hold on, I'm going to get Shirley muted out here. Oh, I think you got it, Shirley. Thank you. All right, great question, Sid. Thanks again for being here.
Okay, thanks.
Heina from California. Thanks for being here. What can we do for you today? We can hear you if you talk. Right, maybe we can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Oh, there you go. Hi.
All right. I'm sorry. So I have a question on signing with a power of attorney. Do we keep the original power of attorney, or do we just look at it?
So are you asking, is this a loan signing?
Loan signing.
A loan signing where there's a power of attorney. And the question is, are you responsible to keep a copy of that power of attorney in possession? Carol, why don't you take that one? You want to unmute?
Yeah.
Okay, hi.
Okay. Do you need to keep a copy? No. If this is a loan signing and it came through a title company, you don't have to keep copies of any of the supporting documents, such as a power of attorney or, excuse me, any of those legal things. It's up to them to verify and validate those documents, and they take care of it for you. You don't even have to see it. If there's no copy and they're not requiring one, you don't even have to look at it. The documents will dictate themselves to what to do with them.
Yep, I agree. And then in some states, if you are required by law to look at the document that creates the capacity, representative capacity, then yes, you would take a look at it and notate in your journal, but you don't have to keep a record of it. Does that help?
Yeah. What about the certificate? Are there specific sort of jurat or acknowledgement, or we just use our regular certificate for acknowledgement and jurat in when doing these type of signings with power of attorney?
Yeah, so it can depend on your state. If you are able to notarize representative capacity, then as long as the rest of the elements of the notarial certificate are correct for your state, then you can certainly use that one.
Yeah. Okay.
If you're not able to use representative capacity, you might have to change it to reflect only the person's name whose identity
Present.
you are verifying.
Okay. All right. One quick question. Any recommendations on a journal, notary journal in California? I'm struggling to find a good one.
Well, I'll tell you, this is very, very subjective. A good one could mean different things for different people. So what I'm going to ask is that if we have some notaries in California, which I know we have tons of them on this call,
Mad.
I would recommend just add it to the chat window. And if you have a link to it, that would help Heine out so much. That would help so many other people. And I see Clyde is talking the Integrity Journal. The Integrity Journal, as far as I know, is not ready for California
I
yet.
know.
Clyde
I'm
is
waiting
building
on it.
that, and we'll get that out to you. But there might be other notaries on this call that have found a journal that they love to use in California. And if that's the case, if you could post that into the chat for Hina, I'd really appreciate it.
Great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for being here. All right. Harold Chisholm, it is so great to see you on the call. It has been a while. Would you like to unmute, tell us what state you're in, and ask your question?
How you doing, Bill? Yeah, it has been a while. I've been extremely busy, which is a good thing.
Great problem to
That's
have.
it's a great problem to have. Two questions. I'm in California, and just a quick follow-up to your last question. I used and I love the Modern Journal of Notarial Events, and I saw that in the chat that somebody put that in there. And I use a soft cover. There's a hardcover. I use a soft cover. I just like that one a lot better. And I got that from Rotary Notary or Notary Rotary. That's where I got that.
Thank you.
The two questions that I have, and I think I saw one being answered in the chat, is it required to select one pronoun in the acknowledgement certificate? Like I said, I'm in California. I've seen different wordings. Is it, when I say required, is it legally necessary to select a pronoun in an acknowledgement?
Great question. Carol, are you available? Do you want to chime in on whether or not on the notarial certificate, a notary should circle the pronoun?
Well, of course, up until recently, we always had to do that. It was a requirement. A lot of county recorders wouldn't accept the documents if it wasn't done. However, in this modern world, where we are beginning to accept and support the fact that we have people of different, how do I put it, different genders. You've got, gay people with their husbands, and wives that are of the same sex. You have people, transgenders, all kinds of things that this society as a whole is working away from discerning the difference between that. So, and I have a really great example that I've talked about before, but for several years now, I have found that it's best to just leave it alone. You don't need to do it. I haven't had a problem, because even when I was working, I stopped doing it, and I've had no problem with it. So
Okay.
I don't know if that helps or not, but I'm actually glad to see that has come about, to allow people to just be themselves. You don't have to worry about any of that.
Yes, it does help. Thank you. I appreciate that. My second question is, here in California, can we accept an expired driver's license or ID, since California has given a 1-year extension or grace period on expired licenses because of COVID, and they had closed the DMV offices? Can we accept those expired driver's licenses or IDs as a valid ID now?
Well, if I might answer, because I've just come from California, living there. First of all, in California, you can use 5 days from the date that they received their license. You can accept those, even if it's expired. You can take 5 years beyond the issue date. With regard to the extensions and everything, I'm really not sure. Laura might be able to go into that if she comes on here, but the extensions make it legal. So if it's within the extension period, I don't see why you couldn't. But if somebody does give you an expired driver's license and the issue date was within 5 years of the date you're signing, you're good.
Oh yeah, that part I know.
Okay.
And I've looked at that, and that only works, unfortunately, for people that are, for Native Californians, their issue date is always more than 5 years. But for someone that they're not a native Californian, their issue date is usually 2 years. So they get it every 2 years. But if you've been a native Californian, your expiration date is usually 5 years beyond your issue date. That's what I've learned.
So they're already
Yes.
expired when they're expired. So
Exactly. Exactly.
So,
Thank you.
And then, so Harold, just so you know, and I think Jeff and Laura had talked about this too, there's an age requirement to the extension. And Jeff says he called the Secretary of State and it's over age 70 in California, there's an extension. But if you're under 70, there's no extension. So you might want to look into your Secretary of State, see if they have a bulletin on this that gives you that specific detail. Because no matter what you hear on this call, in an email, in a blog, or whatever it is, you always want to go straight to the horse's mouth, right? Because you are 100% responsible for the decisions you make. So check in with the Secretary of State on that.
Okay, thanks a lot, Bill.
Yeah, you got it, Harold. Thank you. All right. Carla, also from California. I knew we had some Californians on the call today. Carla, what's going on? How can we help today?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, sure can.
So I was literally going to ask the same question that was just asked regarding driver license and age 70. And then also, because I've been doing some research on those executive orders, the N63-20 and then the extension, the N71-20. And I can't really find any wording that will allow someone that's over the age of 70 with an expired ID, to be able to get something notarized.
So you can't find the exact language that even allows for that?
No, I cannot find. So that was going to be my question. But you did mention check with the state of secretary, but I was hoping Laura would be on the call and if she had any input on it.
I know. I love it when Laura, because she's she does such great research. Here's the thing. We've got lots of amazing notaries that might be in California. Guys, if there's anybody who can provide a true valid resource link, like if you found the bulletin or the link to the statute or the extension from the governor, if you could attach that to the chat, I'd really appreciate it. And I know Carla would too. Carla, is there anything else we can do for you besides those questions?
That'll be it. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Appreciate you being here. Hey, Darlene Robinson, thanks for being here. You want to unmute, tell us what state you're in, and ask your question.
Hi, how everybody doing? This is Darlene from Dallas, Texas, not from California.
All right, we got some Texas in the house.
I just had a quick question. When you do a reverse mortgage application, I didn't see anywhere on any of the documents that I'm supposed to notarize anything.
Yeah.
Is that normal?
Yes, it is. It's kind of the cool thing about applications. You'll notice this on forward mortgages as well. When you take the application, there's usually not any notarizations necessary. It's just collecting information. And if you are working with a lender or a loan officer that's really diligent and detail oriented, it'll just be literally gathering signatures and maybe collecting some additional paperwork like a Social Security awards letter, maybe a death certificate, maybe a water bill or something along those lines, or an insurance declarations page kind of thing, that kind of stuff. It's really usually pretty simple and no notarizations.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure because I was looking and I was like, I don't see anything to sign.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
pretty much it. The reason they do that, they still use a mobile notary and loan signing agent because we have a criminal background check. We are assumed to be professional and we're going to dress professionally. And we kind of have an idea of how to dance around or talk about these transactions. So they still use us for the application, even though there are no notarizations.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Laura, I'm assuming this is not Laura Buer, so don't get excited, guys. I mean, get excited because this is Laura. Laura, did you like to unmute? Tell us what state you're in and ask your question.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, sure can. A little bit. You kind of sound far away.
Okay, I'll try to come closer here. I'm in Seattle, Washington. And hi, everybody. I'm kind of a newbie, so for just a newbie question, I have my first phone signing.
Laura, hold on one second because we cannot hear you.
Oh, one second.
Are you on Bluetooth or something?
Is that better?
Oh yeah, now you're in the room. Hi.
Okay, perfect. Sorry about that.
No
So
worries.
I'm in Seattle, Washington, and I was saying, forgive the newbie question because I am a newbie. I just had my first signing on the weekend.
All right.
So I did have a question. It's kind of probably not that unusual, but the title company paperwork was full of notarizations, and none of them had a state or county. They had all of the appropriate language, otherwise for Washington, but no state or county on the form. The loan documents were fine, but I wasn't sure if it was okay to write in the state and county or if I needed to attach a certificate to each of those title documents that didn't have a state or county in the notarial section.
Yeah, great question. And I love that you even noticed that it wasn't there. So, and I just want to ask a clarifying question. So are you saying that on the notarial certificate in the venue section, it just said state and county, but it did not have it filled in?
No, it didn't even have state or county. There was no venue section at all.
Yeah, that's a great detail. I'm so glad you noticed that. I think a lot of newbies would have missed that. But yes, it is absolutely okay to write in the venue. And most states have rules that suggest that you have to have the venue in there. So it's so great that you did catch it, and you can handwrite it, or you could replace the certificates. However, in my experience, I try to use the certificate that they provide as much as possible.
Yeah, everything else about it looked great. And I honestly didn't have like 8 extra certificates with me. I had like 5. So I thought, well, I didn't want to kind of half and half it. Yeah. So I did just print it very neatly, right above the rest of the notarial stuff. But I just had not seen that before because the loan documents were pristine. I mean, they had their full notarial certificate. It was very all filled in with everything. And I thought, okay. So I just wanted to be sure I didn't screw that up. So thank you. I am a Notary Pro graduate. Hello, Carol. Thank you so much. Your course was amazing.
Carol.
And Bill, you're up next. I'm going to take the reverse mortgage from you. So.
Oh, awesome. Great. Well, we'll see you.
I'd like to add something to this, but if you're not a student of mine, this is a good thing to remember, because I have had people tell me they have nightmares at night listening to me say this. The venue is always the place where your feet are planted or your seat is seated at the signing. I used to get so many calls from people asking me, well, what do I put here? So if they just remember, it's always where your feet are planted or your seat is seated. And that's what you can put in there. And when you change it, if you need to change it, you just put a line through the state, a line through the county, and put in the correct state and county where your feet are planted, and put initials by the change.
Yep. Beautiful. Beautiful. All right. Thank you so much for being here. Kay Copeland, always nice to see you on our calls. If you want to unmute, tell us what state you're in and ask your question.
Hello, Bill. I am Fort Worth, Texas. I have a question. So I'm still a newbie, but I've jumped in head first, and I've taken on maybe about 10 signings in the last 3 weeks or so. So I have not gotten any feedback, and I don't know if it's a bad thing or this is how it is, but I have not gotten any feedback from the title company or anyone about whether or not I've made any mistakes. Is that normal, or they will really reach out to me if there was a mistake?
Feedback. I love it. So this is probably the most frustrating part of our whole job, right, Carol, is if we rarely hear back unless we've made a mistake. So the fact that you have not received any feedback, I'd have to say congratulations. You probably did a really great job. Now, with the volume of signings that lenders and closing agents are going through right now, even if you were to reach out and just say, hey, just checking in, how'd everything look? Did I do anything that drives you crazy? I'm willing to change or adapt it to your personal preferences. Even if you were to do that, you may not even get any answers back. Because I used to do that. I used to say, hey, if I have them sign the 1003 and you don't want them to sign, does that drive you crazy? Do you have to reprint stuff? I'll stop doing that. And back then I used to get good feedback and I could tailor my signings for each one of my clients. But now people are so busy. I don't know if you'd even get positive feedback if you asked for it, except
If it ain't,
it's all good. And Carol, what do
if it
you,
ain't broke, don't fix it.
if it ain't broke, don't fix
So
it.
if I don't hear anything back, I should just assume that everything is okay.
That is
Yes.
usually a really good sign. Now, like any assumption, there's a certain amount of danger in that too, because we may have missed something and the escrow officer, but it wasn't a notarial act. So the escrow officer just jumps and sends it to the borrower and says, hey, print this out, sign it, scan it back to me. And they may
Okay.
not even ever say anything to you. But so there's that chance that that could happen. But if they have not said anything, that's generally a really good sign.
Okay, and my last question. So like when I go to a signing and I'm still not 100% knowledgeable on each document, although went over your course several times. I'm still trying to remember all of this, but most of my signings, like they just take control and do I absolutely have to briefly explain what this form is? Or is it just me reading the title? Like,
Well, so I think as a best practice, and if we want to I guess the short answer is yes. I think it's very important that we provide a brief explanation of the most critical documents. But the reality is, a lot of times, reading the title of the document is the brief description of the document. So yes, you could do that. Sometimes as you get more experience, you'll start blending in more, because what will happen is you'll start seeing, okay, well, all my signers always stop on this document because when I read the title of it, it doesn't say enough. So what can I do to fix that? Well, I could slow down and read the document. I could read 3 different versions, because this is exactly how I created my scripts for Sign and Thrive. I had like 12 document packages out and I read every single disclosure and finally came up with a way that would describe it that helped people just get through it. So you could read it and say, okay, oh, so this is what that is. That's what that is. So I'm just going to combine these 3 lines and that's how I'm going to describe that document from now on, and then see how it works. That's your results are how you decide what's working and what's not. If you're losing what Carol calls gentle control of the signing, then something's off. So you got to make an adjustment. And if it's the same document every single time, or if it's just right from the get-go, they just don't seem to trust you to go through the signing, then you might adjust how you knock on the door, or how you communicate, or how you start the signing, and set that boundary up right from the beginning. Like, hey, I got you, relax. This is how we're going to go through this. This is what you can expect from me, and this is what I'm going to expect of you. Carol, I know you're really big on this as well. It's passionate for both of us. Do you have anything you want to add to that?
Well, first of all, one of the things that I've done, because I think it's so important, so I have a video, and videos called First Signings that my students can watch. But one of the things you have to do, and you have to remember always, just be yourself. If you're quirky, if you're funny, if you're kind of like I'm kind of a klutz, left one shoe outside and the other one I was wearing as I came in. I've fallen walking into a house. Whatever you are and whoever you are, please be yourself. I can't say it enough, because people will know, just in their guts, they're going to know that you're pretending to be somebody or not. And that puts a red flag right between the two of you. So that's number one. And what was the original question? Because I've forgotten it already.
It was
reading the documents. Okay. Your job as a certified loan signing agent is very, very important, because the difference between you and what we call a point and sign is that you're going to go through the most important documents, which we call well, it doesn't matter, but it's the money in, the money out. When I learned this many years ago, when I was an escrow officer manager, I used to do a lot of my own signings. And you'd start off and they go, you'd be like starting at the beginning of the package and they go, well, what's my interest rate? Thumb, 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 thumb. Oh, well, when is my first payment? Thumb, thumb. And that's when I realized that the most important thing and what they care about is the money in, the money out. Now, the rest of them, you can just go through them, get to know them a little bit and say, this says that you have to have homeowners insurance. This one says if there's any mistakes on the documents that you agree that they can correct it, and just an overview of all of the others. You don't have to sit and explain every single document. As long as you have a good, excuse me, sense of what each one of them does, then you're pretty much good to go. And there's something to remember. It took me years to figure it out. We can do the what and the where. We cannot do the how or the why.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks for bringing that question. And I think there are, what Carol was talking about is the critical documents. You know, like for me, if I'm doing a refinance, first I have a script. I start every signing out the same way that sets the expectations and builds the confidence and builds rapport. It lets my personality come out, maybe a joke, a little sense of humor, that kind of stuff. And then I start with a closing disclosure. Most of my files have the settlement statement. Then I roll to the note or the promissory note. Then I roll to the deed of trust, and then the writers to the deed of trust. Those documents usually cover everything Carol just talked about. The money in, the money out. They know what the interest rate are. They know what the closing costs are. I've talked about collecting money if I needed it, or if they're getting money back. We've got that all cleared up. If there's going to be a question on a loan file, 99.9% of them are going to happen in those documents. So when you get those out of the way like that, the rest of it usually runs pretty smooth and efficient.
Got it. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. All right, let's look at Yazzie also from California. Great to see you on. You want to unmute and ask your question. Yesenia. Yesenia? She's probably on the phone. She always gets those calls. All right, we're going to move on to Maura C. in Illinois. Thank you for being here, Maura.
Hi, everyone. Maura Contreras. I am a newly commissioned and newly graduated. Great class, Carol Ray, of course, everyone knows. So I see a lot of representation from Chicagoland, and I have questions on the actual notary fees. According to the state, we have one of the states that have very minimal fees.
Yes.
So I understand that notarial fee is very different than the travel fee. Wondering, it's a very low, I think, amount to charge just for the specialty notary work. How does that compare to, you know, let's say what a title company will charge, and you know, is that okay in the state of Illinois?
Yeah, this is an excellent question, and I'll jump in here first, and then I'd love to hear Carol's perspective, and if Laura's on, I'd love that too. So yeah, there's a difference between your fee that you'd be charging for specialty or general notary work to the general public. That's in Illinois, I think you're at $1 plus your travel fee.
Right.
But as a loan signing agent, you're being compensated for more than just stamping a piece of paper. You are being paid like your loan signing fee covers printing, travel, and presentation of the documents. So it's not the notarial fee. So you are in compliance with the state by accepting another fee because you're being paid for other stuff that you're doing. So generally speaking, if you were to go escrow direct, like my clients in Chicago pay very generously. I know there's a lot of title companies that pay minimum $125 for a refinance. Usually though, it's $150 all the way up to $350 we've seen in Illinois. That's if you go escrow direct. If you're going to be working with signing companies, of course, you're going to see significantly lower than that. But still, and especially now in pandemic and with the surge in the need for our services, I've noticed that our notary fees are up closer to that $100 range, even through signing companies, as they should be. Carol, did you have anything that you'd like to add into that?
No, I think you pretty much covered it. And the people, you're so funny. The people that are, the people that are going, never mind. Never mind. You covered it. You're fine.
Not going to open a can of worms?
No.
Well, I think we lost more. Oh, she's on here still.
I'm here, sorry. So yeah, this I was just worried again. I'm focusing on both the specialty work as well as loan signings.
Great.
But I'd like to get some specialty work going first. And again, I was just nervous and okay, I don't want to, be out of compliance and charge too much, but then of course, be compensated for what I'm actually doing. So.
Yeah, I think what I would recommend to you and to anybody who is interested in doing the specialty notary work is to do some market research too. And the cool thing is now that over the last 3 years, the bar has been risen, even on specialty notary work, where notaries are taking this business seriously. They've got professional websites. They're starting to do their search engine optimization. What that is, that gives you access to some good information too, just to see what other notaries in your area might be charging. When you do this market research, I encourage you also to make sure that whatever you choose to do is still compliant and in integrity with your state laws. Because what you'll find in market research is that there's a lot of notaries that are not in integrity with the laws.
Right.
That's how you can get some really good information. If it's working for them, there's a good chance that it'll work for you. Like I think $35 in the Chicago area for a travel fee is kind of what I've been hearing a lot. So that's probably a good baseline for you. And if you decide to work lower or have a bigger radius or smaller radius, you can certainly do that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. All right. Great questions. Yesenia, are you ready for us yet? That must be a really good conversation. Tanya Blunt Thompson, thank you so much for being here. You want to unmute? Tell us what state you're in and how we can help. Tanya Blunt Thompson. All right, she's booking a call too. So we're going to move on to Pamela Ward, the Needed Notary. Oh, I just saw you on Instagram. I love that name. You want to unmute? Tell us what state you're in and how we can help. Can you guys hear me okay? Is it me?
No, I can hear you.
Okay. Everybody's booking calls here. Pamela Ward, you want to unmute, please? Tell us what state you're in and ask your question. Okay. We'll find then. We'll come back to you.
I'll volunteer. I'll
What's that?
volunteer. I said, I'll volunteer. How are you?
Oh, that's okay. We've got a lot of people up ahead of you. Okay, Wilka?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
All right, Randy Venters. Randy Venters, can you, okay, you can unmute. We got that. Tell us what state you're in and how we can help.
Hey, I'm in Washington.
All right.
And I got 2 questions. My first question is, I don't see anywhere on the state's website or my NNA handbook the word jurat. And when I have loan documents that say sworn and subscribed by, what would I mark that as in my journal?
So Randy, you kind of broke up there a little bit. Can you repeat that?
I'm in the state of Washington. Trying to figure out how to take myself off speaker. I can't figure that out on my phone. I'm in the state of Washington. I don't see anywhere in my NNA handbook or on the state's website the word jurat. And so when I have a loan document that says sworn and subscribed by, I don't know what to mark that as in my journal.
So are you asking does Washington use a different word than jurat?
Yes, or would it be?
You're really breaking up pretty bad there, but it is a jurat, and a jurat is a jurat. So I'm not sure, and if Laura was on here, maybe she would know something that I don't know, but when an oath is given for a document where somebody is attesting or swearing to the truthfulness of a document, that is called a jurat. So that is what you would put in your journal.
Okay, so is it possible that states don't have jurats, that they call it something else?
I suppose that's possible, but I've never heard that for Washington, and I've got dozens of notaries up there.
Okay. Okay. And my second question is, through one signing service I keep getting this one lender out of Ohio. I don't remember the name of it, but they have on a few documents, they don't have any notarial wording on the document, but they want me, the signature says notary for the signature, and then it says Notary Public underneath the name, and then it asks for when my commission expires and my ID number. But because there's no notarial wording on it, I should not stamp that, correct?
So yes, and without seeing it, I'm going to go into a little more detail as well. So in order for a notarial act to be complete, the signer would have to sign it. Then you would need its notarial certificate. You would have to sign it and then seal it. If it doesn't have all of those components, like if it's the ID letter or a form, and usually I've seen these where it's an ID letter, you are testing, you're writing in the ID information for the signer, and then there's a place for you to sign, and then they want an impression of your seal for their own records. That you cannot do. But if you are actually notarizing a signature, but the language does not meet your state's requirements, you can replace that with a notarial certificate and then complete the notarization.
Okay.
Leslie, can you mute out for me, please? Sorry about that.
All right, and then a quick follow-up on what you just said. So there's one title company out there, it's MSI. They send a form out and they want you to put all your information in, and then they ask for a copy of your stamp. And I was told from Notary SARS to put a copy of your stamp on it and then strike through it and say, and write for proof only. Is that okay?
So that is exactly what I do. It is subject to interpretation, but yes, that is what I do. So it doesn't create conflict or leave them out of their own company's compliance. So I'll stamp it, strike it so it cannot be used for anything, and then I initial it.
Okay.
Or you can just.
And the one last quick one. How come with some lenders or some title companies, one form is a acknowledgement and then another form is a jurat, and they're not consistent from lender to lender?
Look at you applying logic to a very illogical industry, Randy. So I've asked the same thing. In fact, I went straight to the source. I finally found the guy, and this is an attorney who writes these mortgage documents for Wells Fargo and many of the other huge banks. And I asked him the same question. And you know what he said? I didn't know there was a difference between a jurat and acknowledgement. I don't copy and paste. So I don't think there really is any, there's no rhyme or reason to it. They might have at some point had some reason for it, but we just won't know it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
Wouldn't it be nice if we had uniformity of documents?
It really would, and it blows my mind that we don't already. All right, Randy, thank you so much for being here. Welcome to the industry. Glad you made TNT today. Okay, guys, I'm going to go back now to Yesenia. Are you ready for us? Going once, twice.
Yes.
Oh, there she goes. Hi, Yesenia.
Oh my God. I was so stressed to find the unmute button. Oh my God. Okay. Okay, I can breathe now.
Tell everybody what state you're in, Yesenia, and then.
Okay. California. Sorry, I'm trying to remember now my question because you got me all combobbled now. Okay. Right. So 2 questions really fast. I had gone to a signing early in the morning. I went to my afternoon signing. I couldn't find my journal and I was freaking out, right? Luckily, I was in my office for the afternoon one. And then I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? So I had called the last place I went. They said I didn't leave it there. So I had no idea where I left it. And I sworn I only got from that place to my office. Anyway, and I remember that Laura, and I think the 2 of you have also said that we can only use 1 journal at a time. So I just assumed, okay, fine. I don't know where I lost this. It's considered lost. So I opened a new one and I did my afternoon signing with the new one, made a notation. that the other journal was lost. And wouldn't you know it, when I went home and I shared it with my daughter, she's like, okay, so if I find it, do I get anything? I'm like, yeah, you could get 20 bucks. Good luck. So she found it in between the seats that I had folded back to make the back flat. And I was like, oh my God, you were worth the 20 bucks. But now what do I do with the journal that I had I used it because I assumed this was completely lost. I mean, because, obviously I have to finish using the one that was prior, the one that was lost. What do I do?
Yeah, this is a good question. And for everybody, first things first, this is going to be state specific. Second thing is, if you ever lose your journal, look down beside the driver's seat, look down beside the passenger seat, and look under your favorite seats, because I have lost it probably 300 times and I always find it there.
Thank you. It wasn't just me. Okay.
No,
great.
no, it happens all
Okay.
the time. And just because you kind of tuck it in there when I'm doing my check in my car, whatever it is. The other thing is, so back to the state specific side, the states might have a process for this. So you want to check in with the Secretary of State. However, if you've already retired a journal, just retire it. So if you lost the first one, you've written it off as lost, you might be able to follow whatever your state's protocol is, whether you have to send it into them or store it securely or whatever you've got to do, and just retire it and make a note then, because you've already made a note in the new journal, make a note in the previous journal that it was lost, but then found and now secured, and there's no more entries if you have to strike through it or whatever. But again, you want to compare this to whatever your state's protocol is. Carol, do you have any suggestions? Or Laura, if you're on the call yet, do you have any suggestions?
No, I'm sorry, but I got a kick out of something that got posted. Brett, I think it was, I lost the chat, but he said you should deduct daughter.
And Brett's a tax guy too, so listen to him. That's finder's fee, tax deductible. Love it. So yeah, Yesenia, I would just double check with the Secretary of State or with the state statutes just to see if that would fly. But that's exactly what I would do, and I've had to do that before as well.
Okay, I'll do that after TNT is done.
Okay.
My second question then, I've had a friendly debate with a fellow notary. So the E&O that a lot of these, vendors for loan signings, usually ask for 100,000 E&O, right? Is it specifically have to be an E&O for a loan signing agent, or is it just the notary E&O?
Yeah, good question. And so it's just the notary E&O. That's the requirement that they're looking for. So when a signing company or a title company asks you for E&O insurance, it is just that NNA, well, and you can get it from anywhere, but the NNA notary public E&O insurance for 100,000 is what they're looking for. If you choose to have additional coverage, that would just be for your own risk tolerance. That's not going to be required from any of the signing companies that I've encountered, and I've encountered hundreds of them.
Okay. Sorry, Carol.
What's that, Carol?
I'm sorry. Most of the signing services are requiring 25,000, and it's not until you get direct with title that they require the 100. At least that's been my experience with my students. So it depends on how much money they have to get started with. If they don't have a lot of money and they're struggling, I suggest the 25,000 until they get connected with title companies.
Yeah, and it's just the NNA standard E&O insurance policy though, right? It's not the additional professional.
Yeah, the signing agent insurance is very, very expensive.
Yeah, significantly more expensive and not required.
But not required. Thank you.
You're so welcome. Thanks for being here.
Mm-hmm.
Tanya Blunt Thompson, coming back at you. Would you like to unmute? Tell us what state you're in and ask your question. Going once, going twice. All right, we're moving on to Pamela Ward again, the needed notary. Pamela Ward, you want to unmute? tell us what state you're in.
Yes, hello.
Hi.
Hi, I'm calling from Texas.
All right.
I have a question, please. Hopefully this is okay to ask. I am just starting out, and a lot of the signing services that I'm signing up with, they are asking for my fees. I know what my standard fees are just based on where I'm located, which is Texas, if you can't tell by my southern drawl. And also just based on the training that I received. But they're asking for an overnight fee. So would that be them sending me documents overnight, or me having to send them documents overnight, and they're asking what my fee would be for that?
Yeah. So this is kind of an antiquated fee. We don't see that too much anymore, right, Carol?
No, it used to be that they would deliver documents to us either by FedEx or UPS, and we had no printing. The documents were all there, and we would use those to go to the client. Now, of course, we have the process of printing the documents for them and all of that. I liked it better when they delivered it to my house.
Yeah. So you could probably leave that fee empty.
Okay.
It's probably just not going to happen.
Okay, that's perfect for me. And then also, I have noticed the majority of the signing services, they go through other entities such as, like I'm on the NNA's website, my profile is posted there. And then also they have another one, I believe, maybe through like signing order. But I have one signing service, they always email the assignment. And like I said, I am new, just starting out in December. And I always reply, but they never respond. So I'm pretty sure that I'm not the quickest one, apparently, because I know now you have to be pretty quick when they send the text messages. But is there a way, I have a Gmail account, is there a way to receive like a notification so that I'm notified when they send the email? Because I'm not logged in to look to see. Like if I get a text message, of course it pops up on my phone. So I just didn't know if it was okay to ask that question here.
Yeah, well, I think that's a good question. One that is new because we haven't heard it. But yes, you can get notifications that when you get emails on your phone. So it'll buzz or ding, just like when you get a text message. It's just a notification setting. What you want to do, since you have Gmail, is download the Gmail app from whatever Android or iPhone, whatever you've got.
Yes.
And in your settings, your notification settings, just signify that you want to be notified when those emails come in so you can immediately get it. Now, here's what I found in this, though. There's always going to be a little bit of delay in that. So if you really want to be on top of it, if this is a legit signing company that has signings in your area, then you might reach out to them and start building a relationship one-on-one and just say, hey, do you have a smartphone app? Do you have a text message system? Do you have a way where you could just give me a call when you need a signing? Because, I'm excited to work with you. Something along those lines. That's what I would do. If they've got business and you want it, build a relationship.
Yes, and thank you for that, Mr. Bill, because you were the first person I contacted in the industry. I saw you on Instagram, and I asked you about the advice for taking my training because I am in Texas and I wanted Texas specific.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to get confused with the other laws. But you were very helpful to me. And I just want to tell you in front of everyone that I appreciate you because you didn't push me towards the things that you offer, which are great because I use them anyway. But I did go with one of Miss Carol's former students so that I could get Texas specific training, because otherwise I definitely would have gone with Notary to Pro. So I just thank you guys for doing this Tuesday call. And this is my first opportunity to actually get on and ask my question. And I greatly appreciate you. And I've just this past week started my LinkedIn profile.
Awesome.
So, yes, sir.
Well, congratulations and thank you for the kind words. Did you end up going with Phyllis Traylor then?
Yes, sir, I did.
All right, awesome.
And she was absolutely wonderful. Yes, she was wonderful.
Awesome. So glad
She graduated from Notary to Pro almost 12 years ago when we first started.
Yes, ma'am. And I also reached out to you too, Miss Carol, and was just asking for advice also. And you had very kind words from Miss Trailer. So I appreciate you both. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much for being
Thank you.
You're welcome.
There we go. Okay, Kristen. Always great to see you on here. Are you a notary yet? Oh.
Here we go. Here we
There
go. So I looked at the website today and it said October 27th. So I get 2 more days until they hit that.
Okay.
Cool. When that happens. My 2 questions are very quick. I hear that a lot of companies need experience. Are there plenty that don't?
Yep, great question. So I'm gonna let Carol really elaborate on this, but yes, guys, there's right now the volume is really high. There are a few companies that are sticklers for the 2 years or 50 signings or 100 signings experience, but there are hundreds of others that will welcome you with open arms. And if they say no the first time, it's up to us and our responsibility to kick down the door and prove to them why we're still the best person in the job. And I have a module on this in Sign and Thrive in phase 4. I highly recommend you look at it. But just the real quick overview is acknowledge their reasons for having a higher bar to get in, because they want people who know what they're doing. They want somebody who's going to be at the table representing them well. And then tell them why you're still the best person for the job. Tell them how great you were in the career before. You're detail oriented. You have excellent customer service skills. You have this kind of training, you know, this kind of commitment to ongoing learning and personal development. All of that makes a difference. Carol, I know you get this question all the time. What happened? What do you recommend for these companies that have minimum requirements?
Well, they're going to run into it, but it depends on your training. You need to get good training and be able to prove that you know what you're doing, because now they are hiring people. I have my students calling me all the time that they just, I had one student, I could not believe this, but she made $325,000 last year.
Yeah.
But she did a lot of other things besides just loan signings. She's working with attorneys. She's done a lot of other things. But no, you just have to try to show them what you're made out of, and how much you care, and how much you care has a lot to do with the training you've gotten. Go to Bill, go to Lori, come to me if I'm more suited to your training, but get decent training. That's number one.
I'm gonna name drop. So
Drop them.
Drop your name, Bill. My second question is, so I noticed that I need a background check for the notary, and then when I do the test, I need another one. That's weird. Why wouldn't they just use instead of? I mean, I don't know if it matters. It's not like checking my credit, but I just was like, that's kind of a waste of time, isn't it?
Well, you're trying to apply logic to a very illogical industry, Kristen. And so, yes, some states have a criminal background check to become a notary public. I'll tell you, most of them don't, though. So that's just a California experience, Kristen. So yeah, they have the criminal background check for that. And then to be a loan signing agent, you've got to have the criminal background check for that as well.
It originates from the Signing Professionals Workshop, which is the SPW. They wrote a code of conduct back in 2013, and all of these requirements having to do with the background screening and all of these other things were created back in those years.
Yeah. So that's the why. It still may not make logical sense, but that's where we're at.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Kristen. Great to see you on here, guys. That was perfect timing, Kristen. Thank you for that plan, because that wraps up 1 full hour of questions. Thank you guys so much for being here, growing yourself and your business on a Tuesday. We love spending this time with you. We'll be back next week after the end of the month. Same time, same place. Carol, thank you so much for all that you do for the notary community and being here for us. Any last announcements or anything?
No.
Oh, Thought you were done already. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.